somebody sitting there. In here, as you can see, we are reduced to standing only. It is warm, I know we have opened the windows, so we're going to have to deal with it, unfortunately. Okay, so for our next set of seminars now, we have the Tad Dogs, we have the wonderful Gareth and the lovely Daniel. There was no preference to lovely and wonderful then, I'm sure they're both equally lovely and wonderful. But we've got Daniel on first, who is from the AspergerWorld. And they're going to be talking about their own sort of experiences relating to autism and things. So please give them both a very big round of applause. Thank you very much.
You split this one as well. Too many things. Sorry, bear with us. Okay, cool. Right, I'll just have to stand here because I've got my notes very professionally laid out on my iPhone because I'm cool. Okay, so yeah, it's excessively busy in here, but I'll try and make this as fun as possible. So I'm Dan, and I run a YouTube channel called the AspergerWorld. There's no R in there. A lot of people get confused, do say Aspire, but it actually says AspergerWorld. And basically I advocate for autism and neurodiversity. So I've got a diagnosis of Asperger's syndrome and a bunch of other stuff, but we won't go into it, we'll just say Asperger's syndrome. But so yeah, so I do a YouTube channel, and my YouTube channel actually has just hit 34,000 subscribers, but it's won 2 awards. It won YouTube Next Up Award, which is an award for like up-and-coming channels in the UK, and the second thing it won was the best, like out of all of the blogs talking about autism in the world, it went like number 9 out of all of them. So anyway, so that's kind of cool. So that's what I do, and this is like my brand. And the reason I'm pacing through this, I've only got 15 minutes, so I've got to make sure that I'm doing this in time or somebody's going to kill me or something, I don't know. Anyway, moving on. So, YouTube. Why do I use application on YouTube? Why do I advocate for autism on YouTube? YouTube has a platform of over 1,300,000,000 active users, which is an excessive amount of people accessing a lot of data. I think it goes through something like 50,000 hours of watch time a day, which is a lot. But the idea of YouTube is that it's a open and free community where you can actually just say your mind. And so I started on YouTube back in 2013, but I didn't actually do anything on there until 2015. So when I started building a community on YouTube, it led me to do what I do. So the reason I use YouTube specifically is because I'm able to build a community of people who are like-minded and who can seek for real-life examples. So I talk about things that I do and how things affect me and how I annoy my girlfriend on a daily basis. But, you know, and some people can relate to that and they have fun with it and then they can ask me questions. And the idea is to build a solid community of people with authority. And the authority is what I'll get to later, which is the overall goal of the channel. So that's one reason. Another reason is that it's creativity. I feel like the answer to everybody's focus is creativity, no matter what you're doing in what field. And so YouTube allows full creativity across the board. So when I started YouTube, I was rubbish at camera work. rubbish. I couldn't film anything. But then I studied and I learned because I had hyper-focused on something I was obsessed about. So I got obsessed with YouTube. So I stayed up all night looking at YouTube algorithmic changes. Very exciting stuff. For me, my girlfriend isn't too pleased, but I really get into it, and I love that because you can learn how to manipulate something, but it's hyper-focused with creativity, and that's like number one for me. I'm big on creativity, on my brand, I advocate for autism and stuff, and I say that creativity is everything, and so that's what we do. And then the other thing is that it builds confidence. Now this is quite interesting. A lot of people ask me this, and I've done a talk before in different autism shows, and people ask why I do it. And if their kids get into it, is it good? And I say it's a good thing because it builds confidence. Before doing this, I wouldn't be able to get up and speak to everybody because I'd have nothing to talk about. But by having something I really nerd over, like YouTube, and talking about my experiences, I get to build confidence. And confidence is everything. And without confidence, you have nothing, and without confidence, you'll just fall apart. And everybody strives for confidence because I think it's the key to success in a society based on neurotypical kind of values. So you need confidence to get through these barriers. Okay, it doesn't always work, but it's definitely the basis of what I do on YouTube. And okay, so I'm just pacing through this, so please bear with me. So, inspiration. I use YouTube because it inspires me. It inspires me to do more, and the reason it inspires me is because I see there's a message to give to anybody who has access to a computer and access to what I'm doing. So the idea is to inspire people to come on board, be part of a community that I'm growing online with everything I do with YouTube. And the community will build an authority, what I was talking about earlier, and the authority is that I'm currently at 34,000 subscribers, but my goal is to get to 100,000 subscribers. And when I get to 100,000 subscribers, it gives me a basis of authority to start changing the way social and public services to treat people with autism or neurodiversity. And the reason I say this is because if we went back to like the 50s, or even the 40s and the 20s, wheelchair access was nothing. Now it's a standard because people understand, okay, disabilities, it's physical. You can see the wheelchair, now have to give it. And if you didn't have wheelchair access to your shop, you've got egg on your face and everyone would sue you and stuff. And so that's a standard, and it's a standard people respect, and people need to respect that. But like your shopping and stuff, Tesco lights are horrible. These aren't particularly too great. And there's no accommodation for people with neurodiversity or autism in general. So the idea is that I want to be a voice of reason or an authority on a channel to say, look, I've got 100,000 people who are interested in signing anything I put out. So that's a lot of people, pushing something forward, an idea. So it's to give the idea weight and to give it momentum. And that's what I'm doing with what I do. So it inspires me to do more every day because so many people come on, and I get, it's crazy. The amount of communications I get from people, and I say this to everybody, I get thousands of messages a month. I probably get about 10,000 in an average month. I get 10,000 communications, and that's parents, people with autism, carers, nurses, everything you can think of, just asking me questions like I'm some kind of doctor or specialist. I'm I don't know, I'm just putting this stuff about how I annoy people, and it's crazy. So the idea is that there's people there who want to learn. So what I did is I set up a Facebook group, which is getting almost to 1,000 down there. I set it up a couple of months ago, and the idea of the Facebook group is to get people in there and talking to each other. So that maybe somebody has an experience in shopping with kids, and somebody's got a young diagnosis, and they've never been to theme parks, and so maybe they know they can share that idea. So the idea is again building community, and the community will build support, and the support will then back something and backs an idea. And the idea is that we can change the way big conglomerates or big things, public services, even hospitals. I remember I was in a car crash. I went to this hospital. I was on this bed. It was horrible. It was the most satisfying thing ever. Not like hospitals are supposed to be good, but it was not accommodating. I mean, if you had a wheelchair, you can fly up there, it'd be awesome. But if you're autism, it's no. And he'd say to me, "You're not trained in autism. Why aren't GPs trained in autism and neurodiversity? Bonkers." So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. And so the idea, I always say autism is my superpower, and I'm going to obviously pace through this. And the reason I say it's my superpower is because what I do differently on my channel is a bunch of people talking about autism on the internet. Loads of people, you type in Asperger's on the internet or whatever, or autism, you see a bunch of people I just can't get out of bed today, it's horrible. So it's oh God, you watch it, you feel worse. And I'm watching it, I Google it, because I got diagnosed, I didn't know anything about Asperger's syndrome or ADHD, I was I don't know what I'm talking about. So I went in there, typed in Asperger's syndrome, this guy's depressing me, let's get it. And I just felt horrible, I was I don't want to do that. And I thought, wow, what if I could do videos? Because I've got ADHD as well, so please bear with me. But, not like you haven't noticed. But, and I was what if I could do videos that make people really happy to watch the videos? I'd be I'm listening to this guy talking absolute nonsense for no reason for 20 minutes, but I love it. And I was yeah, that's a cool idea. So I decided to use it as my superpower rather than drag me down. And it inspires me. So I decided that because I have hyper focus on the wrong things. So it's a downfall in other ways where my girlfriend was talking to me and it's just zone off into something. I'm like, whoa, how did this cog get here? I'm just thinking about this. Anyway, so that was like hyper-focus in the wrong way. So I don't listen to you didn't listen to anything I just said. And I was like, oh, sorry, I was focusing on this thing I heard about 6 years ago, and I was just thinking about it and how this computer was put together, and then I was thinking about abstract. Anyway, so I decided that, why don't I put it to the test? Why don't I push myself to the limit? So I did, and I'll just give you an example of how I use it to be my superpower. So I decided, the first thing I did, I was like hyper-focused on things that were very intricate, like chemistry. I'd never done anything, I'd never got any degrees, or if anything before that, I'd got no school qualifications, a bugger all. And then I decided that I would try to do a degree. So I went, when I was like 27 or something, I went to an access course, went in there, never done a maths test in my life, aced it. I'm like, oh, well, that was weird. So then, so I got past that, and then they offered me a place at university to do chemistry. So I did a chemistry degree, so now I have a degree in chemistry, and everyone will love this. For my dissertation, I made a teaching tool for complex chemistry concepts in Minecraft. So I made a Minecraft world that had, it's called group theory, and it's a point group theory of molecular symmetry, which is really awesome stuff. I know you're all excited about it. But I made a Minecraft universe so you could teach kids this, and it was awesome, it was amazing. Actually, Microsoft were really interested in buying it, a lot of cool stuff. Anyway, moving on from that, I was like, well, I did that. And then so I wrote a book. While I was doing my degree, I also wrote a book. Well, I didn't write a book. I had a ghostwriter help me write a book, because I'm dyslexic as well. So I really hard at writing it. I can't even write my own writing. I write something down, I'm like, oh man, I don't even know what I just said. So I had to get somebody to help me write it, but I had a ghostwriter to help me write it. So I wrote a book, and that was cool. And the book's out, I got a publishing deal, it's all over the world. You go anywhere and find my book. It's crazy. I mean, I got #1 on Amazon 3 times. What was that about? Anyway, so that was kind of cool. And then another thing was not only building my YouTube channel, and I'll take the last thing, I'll end on my YouTube channel goals, so I won't take too much time, but the last thing I'll say about using my superpower is that I'm a multi-musician, self-taught musician. Somebody says to me, can you play guitar one day? When I was like 13, I was like, no. So I thought, oh, maybe I could. So I pick up guitar, play guitar, and I do that, do the bass guitar, do the drums, do the piano, violin, cello. So I could do a lot of different things. But so I decided that I was in a band for ages, we weren't doing anything. So I decided to use focus my attention on goals. So when you focus your attention on goals, your whole world of how you interact with everything shifts. And it shifts towards the goal. And she's using vision boards. So I made a vision board. I said, right, I want to have a record out in Japan. I don't know, it was cool, wasn't it, Japan? So I was like, done. And then within a couple of months, we got a record deal in Japan. I thought, oh my goodness. So we did it. We got a record out in Japan. It got to #5 in the Japanese newcomer chart, HMV. And I was like, wow. This is like my band's CD was there next to like Blink-182, Green Day and stuff. Like, this is the weirdest thing in the world. But it's cool. But it means that the downfall is, yeah, in a neurotypical environment, I piss people off, but in my environment I can do amazing things, but it's not just because I'm me, it's because, you know, I'm individual, and everybody who has neurodiversity can actually help push themselves forward to use it as a superpower. And the last thing I'll finish on is that my channel was, my YouTube channel was like 10,000, and I was crap at making YouTube videos. And I wanted to make it amazing, because I thought, you know, I never really go half-assed into it. I've got to go right in and do it properly. So I was like, how am I going to do it? So I decided that I wanted to get 100,000 subscribers, and because again, the authority thing is, how am I going to do it? I knew nothing about it. And then I learned about the YouTube algorithm. And then when I made a vision board, I said, right, get 100,000 subscribers. And when I did this vision board, I was on something like 13,000 subscribers, and that was in November, just gone. Now the channel's just hit 34,000 subscribers like 2 days ago, which is crazy. So that's like excessive growth over a small period of time, because of the focus that I gave to a specific topic, because I aligned my mind with that focus, which is crazy, but it's cool and it works. So what I do is I go around and advocate for it, but one of the main things I tell people is to, like, don't use it as a bad thing. Just say, well, what am I good at? You know, if I'm good at talking fast, maybe I can be a rapper someday. Hey, well, I don't know, maybe not. White guy rapper, sorry, but then Eminem, yellow, or whatever. But apart from that, that's pretty much me. So yeah, 100,000 subscribers, here I go. Thank you for listening to my stupid talk, and if you want to talk to me, I've been talking about...
Wow, okay.
It's awesome. I'm going to walk up this way.
Okay. It's cooler out there, much cooler, yeah. Huge thank you to Dan for coming to talk about his AspergerWorld and how his autism is a superpower. Right at the beginning I should have said that we have 6 TAD Talks today. TAD Talks were thought up a couple of years ago by our boss, Nadine Honeybone. It's about giving people with autism the platform to kind of tell their stories, to show how they have kind of achieved, and to give them the platform, and also public speaking gives them the confidence as well, and it also kind of opens up their world to your world as well. You know, it's a fantastic way of kind of linking the two. So next we have a young lady called Jolie Colmer. Thank you. And she's a multi-world and national award-winning autism activist, with World Autism ANCA ambassador, motivational speaker, autism trainer, and best-selling author. She also has Asperger's. So if you would like to come forward.
Hi.
There's your clicker. Would you like the microphone as well, Jolie?
No, thank you. Oh, I don't listen. Hey. My name is Jolie Colmer. I am known as AspergerWorld. I was diagnosed at 2 years old as on the autistic spectrum, and I am, as Gareth mentioned, I'm an award-winning activist and best-selling author of AspergerWorld. I have a gift called autism that hinders me with many hidden hardships, but it also gifts me with the very attributes and quirks I love most about myself. One quirk is my passion for my specialist interest, which is autism. So my biggest passion is to empower understanding of the hidden depths and the quirks of the autism spectrum. So first of all, I'd like to start with a heartbreaking and lesser-known truth about being autistic. Something called gaslighting. Gaslighting is an awful thing to cope with, and it has probably affected all autistic people in a negative manner at some point in their lives. According to Google, the definition of gaslighting is to manipulate someone psychologically into doubting their own sanity or self and lived experiences. It's an overlooked part of autism because not all gaslighting or emotional abuse is done with the intent to harm. We who are autistic can be gaslighted by anyone, our families, friends, professionals or peers, simply because our lived experiences are so misunderstood and so different to others. So I'm going to give you a few unintentional gaslighting quotes now, to help give an understanding of what some of those examples might be.
Jolie, do you mind if you use the microphone?
Yeah?
Pick up the back for the struggling.
Sure thing.
Thank you. Sorry, guys. Thank you.
Hello? Can you hear me? No? Take two. Any better?
Is that better?
You got it right up against your lips.
Hello?
That's
Well, that worked, okay. So I was talking about gaslighting and how gaslighting can be done to people by absolutely anyone because our lived experiences are so different to that and so misunderstood to those around us. So I'm going to give a few gaslighting quotes now. The unintentional gaslighting quote 1. You need to make eye contact. It is not difficult. Don't be rude. Just look at me when I'm talking to you. It's easy. The reality is that we who are autistic can find it hard to make eye contact because there is far too much information to process around us. Trying to establish what the person is saying and what the other social and environmental cues mean while also trying to understand their facial expressions is impossible. Lack of eye contact is actually a defense mode to aid understanding and social abilities. So forcing eye contact is actually rude and highly counterproductive. Oh, I forgot to click. This quote demeans a person's lived experience, creating feelings of self-doubt for not always being capable of something so easy. Demeaning our lived experiences can alter our perceptions of ourselves and what we believe to be true, teaching us that we are bad or even selfish for being rude, even though it is not our fault. Okay, unintentional gaslighting, quote 2. Don't be ridiculous. You have not lost spoons of energy. That cannot be a real issue. Look, the reality is that you just need to stop making excuses and stop refusing to do things, because if you're just a bit lazy, that's all. There's not really a proper problem here. The reality is that spoons of energy is a real issue that affects so many of us who have autism. When I have a shutdown from lack of spoons, there is often no capabilities left, no energy to allow me to physically move, no room left in my brain to process information, to allow me to make connections of what to do. Often, the only way to recover my lost abilities is to rest, and that is not a result of laziness. And having no energy is not the same as refusal. Unintentional gaslighting, quote 3. Are the lights flickering? Is too loud? No, it's not. It can't be possible to hear electricity. Just stop flapping. There is nothing wrong with you. You're okay. No one else is throwing a tantrum over something so pointless. Stop swinging your arms. It's embarrassing. So unnecessary. The reality is that stimming is a therapeutic physical reaction to overloads or anxiety, and it acts like a defense mode to self-regulate negative energy and feelings. A stim can be anything from twirling hair, biting nails, and humming, to flapping limbs, bouncing body, and clicking fingers. It is essential that autistic people are allowed to stim. This is because a stim is a repetitive behaviour that has to come out as a result of sensory overloads or anxiety. It's better a safely controlled stim than an uncontrolled and harmful meltdown from holding in all the negative energy. A quote like this also makes us feel like our reactions to things that are so beyond control are bad or unnecessary. It changes our perceptions that these real difficulties we have are in our control, and therefore they must be changed. We then feel awful for being unable to change our wrongdoings, which can lead to feelings of insanity, anxiety, and depression. All of these examples stem from lack of understanding and makes the problem to be the autistic individual. It's very hard to deal with. It makes us believe that we are wrong or not good enough, or that the things we find difficult aren't real. Therefore, we are lying or faking it. We are wrong just for being ourselves. Who here knows what insanity is? Insanity is trying to do the same thing over and over again without success, but doing the same thing anyway. Well, you try changing the parts of yourself that can never be changed, and you try doing that over and over again for years, because professionals and peers didn't listen to your hardships, and they have told you that your difficulties are not real or can be changed. You just need to try harder. Yeah, it does not work, and being constantly shoved into a normality that we do not fit in, it can drive you to insanity. Gaslighting made me feel like I was the problem, like I should be able to control or change my hardships. I was depressed, helpless, and I felt insane with self-doubt. like none of my lived experiences or my realities made any sense. I was wrong just for being myself. Gaslighting, it leads you down a dark and lonely path of depression and self-disgust. Suddenly, we with autism are the crazy ones, the bad ones, the ones being naughty or selfish or faking it. This is because our reactions to everyday stimuli are not seen as normal, and our experiences are so misunderstood and often undermined. This can be anything from our difficulty with language, processing information or problem solving, to our finely tuned senses and the uncontrollable meltdowns that rage within us at change in routine, injustice or upset. Often on a daily basis, we are taught that we are wrong simply for being ourselves. After years of unintentional gaslighting, it made my mental health and my ability to accept myself crumble away. I must be mad for experiencing life so different to others. I must be mad for having shutdowns and losing the ability to walk and talk, when, according to my doctors, an overreaction like that cannot exist. I must be mental for having overloads and noticing too much detail around me when nobody else does. I must be insane for my skin burning at the texture of a label in my clothes, even though no one else believes it's a problem. I must be mad, right? Wrong. I am not wrong for being different. This is a huge reason why it is so important to listen to people, understand their diversity, especially those with disabilities, and to listen without judgment or undermining. My disability blesses me, but also has many hidden hardships that many don't yet understand. I could not master the simple art of tying my shoelaces until last year, at the age of 24. Most other children without my difficulties may have learnt so many other basic life skills and tied their shoelaces years before me in primary school, well equipping them to gain life skills and their independence in their teenage years. The ripple effect of challenges did mean that while I spent my teenage years learning all of these basic childhood skills, it has meant that the adult skills I should have mastered by now are also lacking. I have 18 out of 100 average life skills. My biggest trouble is with executive dysfunction and problem solving. Problems that seem simple to others become a task of swift impossibility for me. This is because every thought process is painful, complicated, and hard. I get severe dizziness and brain fog that makes it almost impossible for me to process information, to make even the simplest of connections. For instance, I could look outside at this pouring rain and not realise I need a coat to go out. And then I could go outside, get absolutely drenched, and not make the connection as to why I'm feeling wet or cold, even though I can see it and feel the rain on my skin. The reality is that there's not enough room in my brain to process more information and make connections like this, especially when I'm already overloaded. It's these basic connections that I miss every minute of every day. It's these problems that people don't understand the extent of how my disability affects me, which is one of the root causes of unintentional gaslighting. As a result of these hardships, consistent, unavoidable stresses like work, school, or chores, and the consequential overloads, I get frequent and severe shutdowns. A shutdown is when my usual physical, mental, and emotional abilities literally shut down and eventually vanish to communicate to the world that I need rest to recuperate my abilities. My shutdowns give me severe chronic pain, dizziness and brain fog, and often prevent me from walking, communicating, or doing any type of life skills at all. For this today, I've had to rest for 2 weeks, and guaranteed tomorrow I'll be in bed, and I probably will be in bed for the next 3 days recovering from this today. And even when I manage to start walking, I can't do any more life skills for another week. So this is when it gets complicated, because I'm always forced to continue when I'm having a shutdown, especially at school. More work, more chores, more jobs, which means that every task that I complete while I'm in a shutdown are completed to the lowest of my ability. And then people wonder why I get bad grades, or why I can't complete life skills very well. And I get in trouble for it. I literally need time out to be able to learn and to do the tasks to the best of my ability again. My abilities and capabilities are two very different things. I have many abilities, but I'm not always capable of doing them all. When I was 12, my doctor prescribed me every Friday off of school for therapy and rest, because he understood that expecting me to focus, learn and achieve anything at school during the week would be nearly impossible and counterproductive without also allowing me to rest my senses and recover my abilities. My disability affects every second of my life in a variety of hidden ways, and it always will, but I'm okay with that. I have learned that my disability has many gifts and kindness. You see, for the rest of my life, I will always be honest and incapable of deliberate lying or manipulation. My autism will always give me a strong sense of justice, and I always abide by the rules. So I am never intentionally bad or rude. Autism is not selfish, despite the misconception. I am enabled to be a very loyal, kind, trustworthy and empathetic friend. These are all gifts and kindness. My autism also empowers me with motivation and abilities to learn and remember whatever interests me, making me an expert in my own right in anything I like. My disability enables me to see so many minor details and the sheer beauty around me. Every blade of grass, every pattern on a tree or crack in the wall. It just all jumps out at me. It's like I'm viewing the world through a pair of binoculars, just zooming into all of the detail. This ability inspires me every day with my writing, and is one of the reasons I love writing so much and published my book. Autism has given me the gift of understanding and a unique perspective, allowing me to achieve my dreams of helping to empower our communities. The reality is, I wouldn't change my disability for the world. I love my AspergerWorld after all. It's time for me to finish now. However, if any of you are interested in learning more about my award-winning autism activism or my best-selling book, AspergerWorld, My Fairy Jam Jar, you can find me for a chat at stall 18, just through there. I'll be signing my book and showcasing my activism. And I really hope to meet you all there and share some stories with you all. It's been a real honour to be here today. Thank you so much.
Wow, just a huge thank you to Jolie for that really kind of personal, honest insight into your life, and thank you so much for coming to talk today. Thank you very much. Okay, we have one more TED Talk this morning and another 3 this afternoon. So this afternoon we have a gentleman called Tom Lloyd talking about surviving in the big world on the spectrum. Okay. Hey, Tom.
I
Connection with sort of acoustics. So we use the clicker before time. So when we finish the slides, skip it there. Take a step over time. Okay, so I know it's very warm in here, guys, so there's large talk. That's it, you tell them, Tom. Okay, everyone, this is a gentleman called Tom Lloyd, and he wants to talk today about autism and surviving in the big wide world. So there's the mic, Tom. Over to you. Thank you very much.
Hello, sir. Thank you, Nadine. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a pleasure to be here. My pleasure, Godma. I've been good at Marvehun and spell, so I've been practicing this for a long time. So I'm going to speak about my life with autism and struggle with autism after late diagnosis. I was 50 when I was diagnosed, and I knew nothing about autism before. So we'll go on to the next slide, Larry. During my early life, I was rolling on the floor. That's a sign of autism. And during a family gathering, my grandmother said, don't take no notice of Tom, he's only a child. So then I had operations when I was young, and I was referred to a child psychiatrist. He couldn't find anything wrong, so I had challenging behaviour at primary school in Untitled Wales. I come from mid Wales, or 40 miles away. So I had challenging behaviour at school, and they wanted to send me to a special school. My parents were not willing, and I remained in mainstream education. But I would read a book in Australian World instead of doing maths. The HMI was 1 week after, and he asked me where the merino sheep come from, and I said Australia, and he said they're originally from Spain and went out to Australia. So I went to I went to a secondary school 25 miles away, the other side of Wales, near Brecon and Hawaii. There was a farm in the school, and I was initially put in a remedial class. And I was asked what books I read. I said Farmers Weekly, and I was promptly moved to a middle stream. I liked going down the farm to see the pigs. I would report to the pupils, to the teachers if I did something wrong, and I was called Little Policeman, and I would spend time speaking Welsh to my Welsh-speaking teachers. I left school after 6 happy years with 6 O-levels and CSE grade 1s. School days were the best days of my life. After school, like many teenagers in the 1970s, I was a fan of James Herriot, and I read and collected many books. There were 1,500 books. I've been collecting as a part of autism, about 1,500 books, mainly on farming and animals and military, never my interests, and it's my bank account. After school, I enrolled in a medical science course. I left because I had difficulty interacting with other students. I've had a lifelong ambition of being an auctioneer, so if you put your hand up today, you can see anything, you don't have to worry about buying anything. In my teenage years, I would travel over to the South Wales, all over West Wales, and Tregaron would be my favourite mart with my uncle. I spent my working life on the family farm. There's a beef and sheep farm. We had 400 sheep then and a small herd of, I like going to livestock auctions, not only Wales but also Devon, right up to north of Scotland, over to Ireland, and I've been in some in America. I was obsessed with shearing sheep. I've sheared many thousands of sheep in my lifetime. In 1999, I returned to college again to do an access to higher education. The first speaker did one, so I did similar to A-levels, so I passed that, which is I was very much involved when I was young with the Young Farmers Club. I still do a bit as a photographer at County Valley. It gave me skills to speak in public. That's why I'm here today. I had many offices in my local clubs, and I started my interest of travelling to Ireland and Germany. I was good at the Animal Health Quiz. I won that 3 times, and I got to know names of bacteria. And I took part in auctioneering competitions, didn't win evaluations, and I did dramas, and I served in many YFC committees. So, move on. I was living with my mother died in 2005, but I was living with my father. He's in poor health. He had leukemia, and carers were coming to see him, and they were doing a lot for me as well. When he went into the hospital, I was going to bits, and my routine was changed. That's when I found that I could be possibly on the autistic spectrum, so we get into where things got bad. My father had been hospitalised, and I had a phone call from a relative to say he was very, very ill, and the platelets weren't working. I really got into panic. I didn't know what to do. I was really bonded to my father, so I ran down the field, and somebody made me go in the river. And I'm a strong swimmer, and I was able to get out. And there was a neighbour travelling his Land Rover. I flagged him down when I got to a road, so he took me to the health centre in County Welsh where I live, and mental health team were called. I was in a psychiatric hospital for 5 weeks as there for a risk to myself. It's been made to me many times. I don't have any mental illness of any description, but I do have autism. I found it a little bit of a prison environment, but two men that were male nurses were in the same class as me in school. So a lot of talk about school, and we remember every fight blow for blow. In the hospital, I took part in pottery. I made a ram, and did swimming, went to a local hotel, and walking and cooking, but I haven't been much use of that. I don't cook much. After hospital, I had a visit from CPN. She was very, very good for me over 3 years. I thank her, and she could spot I had autism. When she said I had autism, I didn't know nothing about it. I thought it'd be something I'd be in a home, and I made a leap across the table. Father didn't return to a farm. He was in his health. He went to live with my sister in South Wales, and he died a year after. And I searched the autism, searched the internet to find out more about autism. And I waited for a year to have the official diagnosis of autism in Aberystwyth down by Hay. And I carried on with travel, went to Iceland that autumn, and swimming and reading my 10 special interests. I was officially diagnosed by a psychologist at Aberystwyth again. And it was a relief, because it filled jigsaws in my life, and I picked up pointers from other speakers here today. I attended autism group in Ryder to the south of here, organised by the National Autistic Society, and I met many other people on the autistic spectrum, many like myself who were late diagnoses. And I gave a radio interview a couple of years ago during Autism Week to Sean Coffey on the Border Coffee show, and had every word out in Welsh. Real me, people see the likeable side of me. When alone, I self-harm and have suicidal thoughts. I'm a bit confused about life, and I'm lonely because it's hard to bond with other people. I made many new acquaintances over the last 4 years. I'm aware of Temple Grandin. I call her a patron saint. She did poor work to cattle, and when on visits to America, I read magazine articles written by her. And she couldn't speak until she was 4 years old and initially diagnosed with infantile schizophrenia and later Canner's autism. She fought in pictures like a cow and figured out the cattle like moving in circles. I've heard her speak in my favourite cattle auction, which is in Carlisle, Cumbria, and I've bought some of the books on Amazon and read some of the books. So now I'm getting towards the end, so I haven't bored you all, but getting towards the end, I'm having regular support from the new Integrated Autism Service, where I know Larry from, and I regularly meet an advanced practitioner and support worker to go over my problems and difficulties in life. We've got Powys Integrated Autism Centre in Bronx, so we're down there for focus groups. So we decide what we need and perhaps look at promotional literature and the like. And we have a leisure group. We're hoping to organise a trip on the Brecon Canal. And it's an opportunity to meet people on the autistic spectrum. The future, I hope to find a future. And I hope to find a partner in the future. And I have no luck with internet dating. I like to travel more. I like to go to Australia, New Zealand, Argentina if I've got money, and visit war graves. I love war graves and hope to see Have Wynne, a poet which was killed in 1917 in Battle Reap. I hope to find a part-time job with a firm of auctioneers. I'd like to be an autism activist and do more talks like this. Thank you for listening. I'm really very impressed.
Yet another remarkable story, 3 different people, 3 totally different experiences. Just want to say a big thank you to the 3 who did speak this morning. I'm sure that all of us were kind of inspired, and I learned a lot as well from you guys, so thank you so much for coming up and sharing your experiences with us. Okay, so that's the end of the TAD Talks this morning. Thank you very much, and for putting up with the heat. So if we kind of pop out into the